Hi, everybody. My name is Laura Moreno, as Jimmy said, and I just want to thank Jimmy and the USDA for giving me the opportunity to talk to you all about wasted food, which is one of my favorite topics to talk about. I recently, as Jimmy said, completed my PhD at UC Berkeley, studying food waste, sitting with people in their homes, talking to them about their relationship with food, digging through trash, as well as a lot of other really fun things. And so today I'm going to just share with you some of the things that I found, some take-home tips that I think, based on what I've learned from people, have a higher success rate of working. So as you can see, just on this front page of my slides, I just wanted to share a funny meme from Instagram for you guys that sort of is maybe how a lot of us feel sometimes around our food waste, where, you know, we have a kale salad, we know we should be eating in the refrigerator, but we decide to have that pizza or that taco instead. So next slide. So as I said, I have been studying food waste and digging through trash and looking in people's refrigerators, and these are just some pictures of what household food waste looks like. So on the bottom right-hand corner is one of my favorite, and it's actually a cedar plank salmon that is still attached to the cedar plank that I found when digging through some household food waste. Other things are like these full bag of Cheerios. So what I want to get across here is that there is about a third of food waste that are these inedible parts, things like eggshells and banana peels, but a lot of the food that we're seeing being discarded in households could have been eaten. And so that's really what we're trying to get at and reduce here. Next slide. And I think I might be able to take control. So wasting food is generally thought of as a negative behavior, and many of you might feel this way as it's associated with lots of guilt. It's also associated with wasting money, as Jimmy mentioned, wasting time, environmental degradation, social costs, things like people are going hungry while others are wasting. But still, most of us do this on a regular basis. And I'm not saying this to demonize the individual. I'm just saying this is clearly a larger social phenomenon. Even though we know we don't want to do it, we're still doing it to some extent. So just to give everybody sort of a little bit about the basics of what I've learned and understanding why food is discarded, and this is also supported by the scientific literature, is that when I first started out, I often thought of, oh, you know, why do people waste food? You know, are they lazy? Do they just can't restrain themselves? But actually, as I said, everybody wastes food. So instead, I'm really framing the issue as a social problem, as not an individual problem. We have a larger system that results in us wasting food more often than not. So we need to consider options to help consumers reduce food up and down the supply chain, as well as in their households. Additionally, we should not conflate where food is discarded with why food is discarded. So what I mean by that is just because food is discarded in your household, I'm not saying it is the fault of the people in the household. There's a lot of things at play. Also, there's a tendency to focus what I call on proximate causes, or sort of immediate causes, such as over-purchasing, without understanding the systemic drivers. And what I mean by this is we tend to say, oh, people over-purchase, so they waste food. But I want to delve a little deeper and say, but why are people over-purchasing? And then finally, the active discard. So throwing away the food is not the only behavior of interest when I study food. I also look at planning behaviors, shopping behaviors, storage, preparation, cooking, and eating, because really food can be discarded at any point around this sort of food choice cycle that happens in households. And a lot of interesting things come out of this in terms of that people's relationship with food influences how they end up discarding it. So with that, I'm going to just wrap up with 3 tips with some quotes based on my research of things that you should consider when you're trying to make changes in your own home about how to reduce waste. So one is, think about what you regularly discard and why. And based on that, choose the strategies to reduce it. This may seem like a very simple thing to suggest as a tip of to think about what you regularly discard and why, but one of the things I want to direct people to think about it is the behaviors associated with wasting food are often invisible to us. They're habits. So an example from the refrigerator that I particularly like is a quote from a woman who says, "The thing that consistently goes bad in my refrigerator and I continue to buy it, I am so stubborn. When I plan the meal that doesn't have as many vegetables as I like. I feel like I should throw a mixed green salad on the side. Well, I never ever make the mixed green salad. I just don't make it. So every week I have a half-rotted bag of mixed greens in my vegetable drawer. Every week I stubbornly buy a new one. I don't know how many people on the phone can sort of understand this quote, and maybe it's happened to them. It has certainly happened to me. But for instance, if this is what you're thinking about, you know, I have that regular bag of lettuce that's going bad every week, some tips to reduce that, or before I go to that, I'm showing another meme from Instagram that this is actually quite common. You see here, people are saying, I hate it when I'm trying to eat a salad and it accidentally falls in the trash and then I have to eat tacos. And this also really shows that a lot of this is related to people wanting to eat healthier. So food is ending up being discarded because people are trying aspirationally to eat more vegetables. Another one is, oh, this spinach expires tomorrow. I better play it safe and order pizza. I get that too. That is something I would much rather have pizza than spinach on, especially nights when I'm stressed out. So the tip for that, for the person who maybe isn't eating that mixed green salad, why aren't you eating it? Is it boring and tasteless? Do you not like salad without a yummy dressing? Did you forget? So say it's something that you just sort of forget about it or you think about it on the side. A strategy could be choose a veggie with a longer shelf life. Kale often will last a little longer, for instance, than lettuce, or maybe you want to use frozen veggies that will last even longer. Also choose a veggie maybe that can be used with other foods that you eat, and even lettuce can go in your smoothie before it gets all gross. So maybe just think about other ways you can use these vegetables that might get regularly discarded, or set yourself a reminder. But here we're not saying don't buy that lettuce necessarily, because we know you should eat more fruits and veggies, but try to think about how you can waste less food. Tip number 2 is when choosing strategies, think about what will work for your lifestyle. Can you follow a multi-day plan? And I'm specifically talking about planning because there is some evidence that planning works for some households but not others. So long-term meal planning using a shopping list for some households works really great. For other households who maybe aren't able to follow the plan based on stressful times in their life, it may actually result in more wasted food. So this is one quote from somebody who says, whenever we do try to plan ahead, say next Thursday we will make this dish, but then next Thursday we won't feel like it, so we don't end up using the food. So if you're a household that eats largely based on your cravings, maybe long-term meal planning isn't actually the right thing for you. Maybe you need flexible planning, or figure out what you like and stick to it. And this applies to shopping as well. There's evidence that shows that when people are given more choices, they often buy more choices, even if they're less likely to consume them. So the phenomenon that I've often heard about is the cherry yogurt. When yogurts are on sale for 10 for $1, you don't just want to buy that one flavor that you really like, so you get that cherry yogurt too, and then maybe you don't like the cherry yogurt and it just sits in the back of your refrigerator. So figure out what you like and stick to it. Tip number 3, and this will be the last one, is just to think about your cultural and social norms and how they impact how much food you discard. So how does the concept of abundance play into your food choices? Do you tend to overshop or overcook because you want to provide a variety of options to people, you want to show love and care for them, and it's linked to your identity as a good provider? These are all very normal things that people talk about in my interviews that often lead to excessive waste. And a quote from this is, there's some kind of value that I derive from being able to provide food for people, whether it be at a party or a dinner. If someone came over and suddenly they are hungry, I could say, oh, look at me. I got all of these different things. I got more than we need. Let me just take care of you. And this is kind of where I throw stuff away because they don't get eaten. And this specific household that I went to, she called it shopping for Armageddon. And it was true. Her refrigerator was fully stuffed. Her cupboards were fully stuffed. She even had an extra table of snacks. She really did overshop because she wanted to provide to people, but this did lead to excess waste. So think about how this might be connected to how, for instance, you're providing for your kids, your loved ones, and think about a way to still feel like you're providing for them, but hopefully reduce a little bit of your food waste. So with that, and Andrea is going to speak more about this, but I want to say for more specific tips, say you decide that long-term meal planning or planning can really help your household, SaveTheFood.com has a lot of great information and recipes. So with that, since there's somebody else talking about it, I will stop there.